Hello everyone, this is Erik, the Asian movie enthusiast, and this is my review of Gemini, a Japanese drama horror hybrid from 1999 that was directed by Shinya Tsukamoto. Now, I've covered a bunch of films from this director on my channel already. I have separate video reviews for Tokyo Fist, Vital, A Snake of June, and Bullet Ballet, but I also covered the Tetsuo trilogy and both of the Nightmare Detective films in my Asian horror playlist. Now, I rank Tsukamoto as my personal favorite director of all time from any country, and Gemini is another example of why I feel this way. Now, this is loosely based on an Edogawa Rampo story, and it's basically the sumptuous tale of rivalry, set in the year 1910. Now, Yukio, an affluent doctor, enjoys a comfortable life with his wife and parents. However, a plague ravages the nearby villages, and the high demand for treatment forces this guy to choose between the more affluent patients and the poor residents from the slum parts. And to make matters even more difficult, he soon finds himself haunted by a mysterious entity that terrorizes his household. So the thing I love about Tsukamoto's films is that they are weird, yet very interesting and compelling at the same time. Now, in regard to the weirdness, this film begins with some impactful horror imagery and introduces a very disturbing score on top of it. You see the macabre image of rats crawling over a rotting corpse of an animal. It's a very arresting image that locks you in immediately, but it's also a direct reference to certain things that happen later on in the film. Not long after that, there's a scene involving dirt that I've never seen in a film before, and I doubt I'll ever see it again. Very odd. Very odd. A few characters in this film, do die, and they do so in very unnatural, artificial ways. The characters themselves also are very odd, and the slum culture is different from anything you would see in most films. Very carnival-esque. Almost as if these people are part of a circus troupe or something. All this stuff is pretty odd, right? And then to add to the weirdness on top of all of this, there's an exaggerated stage play style of acting that is used to give the film a theatrical, classical, expressionistic vibe. So all of these different characteristics, I'm telling you, really make Gemini a very exotic and refreshingly different experience that sets itself apart from 99% of the movies out there. But there's also a lot of substance to complement all of the style. The characters are complex, and a number of psychological, philosophical issues are presented and dealt with satisfactorily. So the film truly excels in its comparison of the higher and lower classes of people. So many movies nowadays just bash you over the head with their social commentary and their themes, to the point where it's becoming obnoxious, right? But Gemini is a great example of how to infuse social commentary into your film in fascinating ways. Now, this film came out in 1999, and the themes, some of the other themes in the film, are parallel to this director's earlier works. We see an element of enduring pain and suffering on the path of revelation, which is similar to Tokyo Fist and Tetsuo. We get imagery of people being germaphobes and kind of disconnecting themselves from, experiencing life. And also the main character and his wife seem to have a sexless marriage, given the fact that they sleep 5 feet apart. And of course, the parents are still in the house at this point. So all of those elements have been seen in A Snake of June as well. And like those other Tsukamoto films, the transformation of our main character is utterly fantastic and totally compelling in Gemini. In fact, I would say that this is one of the most dramatically impactful films in Tsukamoto's entire filmography. You can really feel a connection between the doctor and his wife, especially. Now, I previously mentioned the expressionistic acting, which could be a good or a bad thing. I've seen some bad usage of overacting in films, but Gemini is a prototypical example of how to do it right. One example of this is the evil entity. It's like a humanoid, I guess you could call it. that breaks into the house and scares the mother. And it's presented like a traditional Japanese like demon or something like that. But it approaches the woman as if it were like performing on stage in like a play. Uses like outlandish like facial features, and it moves like it's doing some kind of tribal dance. Really cool scene. And again, it's totally different than like 99% of the stuff you'll see out there nowadays in film. Another example is the wife who's waiting by a riverbed at one point, and her mannerisms are very childlike, which I found fascinating. It gives some insight into her character, and it's arguably my favorite scene of the whole film. So just pay attention to the riverbed scene with the wife when you watch this. Every time that scene pops up, I smile uncontrollably. It's great stuff. So again, this film the use of expressionistic acting is just spot on, man. Our two lead actors are Masahiro Motoki and Ryo. Now, Motoki is a great actor with a very distinct look. He has very distinct facial features for some reason, I think. Most international viewers will know him as the lead actor in Departures from 2008, but I have reviewed some of his other films on this channel as well, such as Gonin from 1995, The Bird People in China in 98, which I covered in my Meet Gay playlist, and The Long Excuse from 2016. But I think his performance in Gemini is arguably his best of his whole career. I don't want to spoil anything as to why I feel this way, but when you watch the film, I think you'll understand why I feel this way. It demanded a lot of variety in his acting chops, and he pulled it off. I can't even imagine Gemini with a different actor in the lead role. I'll just tell you that much. Now, in regard to Ryo, you may have recognized her in the Ryohei Kitamura film Alive from 2002. But I think her performance in Gemini is the best that I've seen from her. Just like Motoki, she was demanded to express a huge range of emotion and complexity, and she knocked it out of the park. Actually, Tsukamoto has a history of creating female characters who are very compelling, and Ryo's character in Gemini is another example of that. The film is beautifully shot, the music is extremely unusual and atmospheric, definitely has kind of like a fairy tale vibe to it, and in typical Tsukamoto fashion, the runtime is a lean 83 minutes long. You never have to worry about too much dull filler in a Tsukamoto film. That much you know, if you've seen his films. I love that about him. I have no complaints about this movie. It's absolutely fantastic, and I highly recommend it. It's kind of a rarity, though, when a story and characters are this strong in a film this weird. You know what I mean? It's not a combination you see a whole lot in movies. Usually weird movies lack a compelling story and dramatic impact, but this one, it makes perfect sense where it's going. When all is said and done, there's really no loose ends left open, and I'm telling you, if you want something unique, you got to check this one out. I think it's really good. It's available on Region 1 DVD with subtitles in the United States. Avoid plot synopses out there. Also, don't read the back of the DVD case if you buy it. I think it gives away too much of the plot. So, check it out. And as always, I'll see you next time.